Oh, I just read This Poison Heart and its sequel, This Wicked Fate by Kalynn Bayron. I have now read all of Kalynn Bayron's Sapphic novels, and I can say without a doubt that this is the best book in her bibliography by far. I think it plays to all of Kalynn Bayron's strengths. This is a contemporary work, like You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight, so the dialogue is very natural and very funny, and is really good. I think her fairy tale retellings struggle with dialogue because they play into genre conventions of the time and like do this like forced stilted tone because the genre sort of requires it, and I don't think that plays to her strengths. I don't think it's the worst dialogue writing in the world, but I think at some points you notice it is weaker than at other points, and especially in comparison to something like this, which is so natural and flows so well and is so funny, and these characters feel so real and lively. Those books just do not hold up. I think this is also Kalynn Bayron's best book because she is doing something totally different. The staple of Kalynn Bayron is the fairy tale retelling. Why? I don't know. I guess she likes those. I guess they sell well. I mean, people like them. They're very critically acclaimed. But subjectively, and I think objectively, I think you can make an objective argument that this is a better book, but I think subjectively I was much more into this. This is much more unique. It feels like its own thing. It doesn't feel like it's playing into genre conventions. It doesn't feel like it's trying to be marketable or play into tropes. I think it's a really fun time and a fun premise and really, really good character work. So this book starts like all Kalynn Bayron book starts, with a 17-year-old girl with magical powers. I guess You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight has a girl who doesn't have magical powers, but that's an outlier. This girl has magical powers, but differently from her other books, this girl is not overpowered. She is not a princess training to save a kingdom. She is not trying to overthrow the government. She is not the most super special, awesome, all-powerful, omnipotent being that some of Kalynn Bayron's other characters are. I suppose you could argue she is overpowered in the sense that she is one of very few people in this world who have magical powers. But again, we are not fighting evil mythical beings here. This is not high stakes. Her power is plant magic, and it's a power that she doesn't necessarily understand fully. She doesn't know the extent of it. She doesn't know how to work it. She doesn't know where it comes from. She's just kind of vibing with it. So if she walks outside through the grass will lean toward her and likes her and like will grow and be revitalized. If she sees a dead cactus, a dead potted plant, she can revive it. Her family owns a flower shop, and so she spends time working with flowers. The book opens on her needing to craft a bouquet. There's a delivery truck disaster and some of the shipments of flowers haven't arrived, but their one loyal customer really needs a specific flower for his wife's grave, and so she goes into the back room and is able to grow them from a couple of seeds. But even making half a bouquet of these flowers exhausts her, so she is not overpowered. It's very much just our world. She's a normal teenager with mostly a normal life. But with some cool magic, and that's fun and sort of wish fulfillment in a way, and just interesting. And she is normal. I loved her family. She has two moms. She was adopted. Her moms are fantastic. They are the most supportive, loving parents. They really care about her. They really look out for her. They're gay. Everyone in this book is gay. That is also something different in Kalynn Bayron's books. Usually there's like one gay couple, and sometimes that's the daughter, sometimes it's the parent. In Sleep Like Death, she had, the main character in that book had two lesbian moms. This girl is bisexual. She has two moms. Her girlfriend's gay, believe it or not. Her girlfriend's bodyguard is gay. Her aunt's gay. Everyone in this book is gay, and that's lovely. This book really felt like Kalynn Bayron was doing something she wanted to do. I think I've sort of criticized her other books, maybe unfairly, by saying that they're full of tropes. They're full of concepts that we've seen before in other books, that are in other fantasy novels, that just aren't unique and don't feel like there's a lot of passion behind them. It just feels like a bunch of tropes thrown together into a book because that's what books are, or that's what sells. This feels like she was doing a lot of things that she wanted to do, and I think that really shows. I think that brings forth the humor. I think that makes the characters feel more real. I would love to see her write more books like this one. And if there's a bunch of interviews out there where she talks about how she hated writing this and she loves writing fairy tales and that's her favorite thing in the entire world, then I don't know, I guess I'm an idiot. But that was the vibe that I got. I felt like this book was loved. And you can tell when an author really cares and loves their book, and that was what I felt with this. But again, maybe I'm biased just because I liked the premise of this. I liked these characters more than any of the others. So maybe I'm just projecting. But the plot of this book, again, she's adopted, and one day she receives a letter that her estranged aunt, her aunt that she never knows, she does not know her birth family, she gets a letter that she has inherited this old house, and no one has lived there for a while. It's out in the country. She's from New York City. They're living in Brooklyn or something. I don't remember. Doesn't matter. But they move out to the country to see this old mansion in this small town in New York. And basically she has to discover all of her family secrets. And she realizes that this house has an apothecary in it, where someone used plants to make medicine, holistic medicine, magical medicine perhaps. And it was sort of this small town staple shop of this community that's offering a service that no one else in this community is offering, because guess what? Her family all has plant magic that runs in her past. She discovers that. She also discovers that she is immune to poison. She starts working with poison plants, and what should kill her does not kill her, does not have an effect on her at all. And she discovers a secret hidden garden in this big house that is just full of rare poisonous plants. And she realizes that these all had some sort of medicinal use or magical use. And she has to sort of track down all the secrets and figure out what was going on with the shop, who her parents were, where they came from, how they got these powers. There's a lot of Greek mythology in this. So this is sort of an inspired novel, the way her fairy tale retellings are. This one is inspired by Greek myth. The main character's name is Briseis, which is a Greek name. I thought it was the name of a flower. It might be. I don't know. I thought that would be funny. I think her last name is Green because she works with plants. But all of her family has really, really Greek names, which was a little on the nose. Like Briseis, there's like Persephone and Circe. And I'm like, okay, this is very on the nose. But it is a YA book. Kalynn Bayron wants you to know that this is Greek inspired. And the Greek mythology plays a bigger and bigger role as the duology progresses. In the second book, it is a very, very large part of it, which is why I don't think the second book is as good as this first one. This first one is really small stakes. It really sets up these characters in this world and this really small mystery. So we're just in like this quaint little town. They're getting to know the town. There's some weird people who maybe also have something to do with magic and her magic, or is it a different magic? And are they after her, and do they like her? And her family has this long storied history of living in this area and providing this strange service, and they're sort of known as witches, and they sort of have a weird reputation amongst town. And there are people coming after her and inquiring about her and how she's related to the family and where's the rest of her family and what happened to them. So it's sort of small scale in a way that I think really only You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight is, in terms of Kalynn Bayron's bibliography. And I like that. I like this weird little town. I like that they're renovating this cool mansion. I like that the house has all these secret rooms and, things that she needs to discover and piece together, and like secret keys and ways of getting into places. And it's really fun and small scale, and you really get a sense for all of that. We're not talking about big politics of the world here. We're just really involved in this singular mystery, in this single family, in this little town, and it's really nice, and it just really allows you to dig deep into all of that. And then in the second book, which I don't have a physical copy of, this is a cool Owlcrate exclusive, by the way. Ooh, very pretty, very shiny. Signed. Feels so fancy. Kalynn Bayron. I'm glad this is the only Kalynn Bayron physical book I own, because it's the only good one. That's mean. I liked some of her other books, but they're all mid at best, mostly. Some of them have elements that are good, but they're not fantastic like this book. This is her best book, This Poison Heart. And in terms of This Wicked Fate, good. Again, I like the characters, so I enjoyed it, but it is a very large-scale mystery. Not to get into spoilers, I don't really need to spoil this, and I don't really want to, because I think you should read this, and I think you should read the series. It's just a duology, it's just 2 books. And again, the second one's not as good, but the first one and the strength of this really carries it because you like the characters and you're invested and you want to see where the magic goes and you want to see more people with magic, and it is interesting. But we end up on a big quest. Like, we're like literally in the Mediterranean, like looking for shit. Like, we're basically copying Odysseus, kind of, but in like a mini way. Basically, they're looking for all 6 parts of this very poisonous, powerful plant. And conveniently, they already have 5 of them, but they need the mother plant, the mother heart, the most potent version of this plant. And they end up tracing it back to the Aegean on an invisible island that they have to go find, and they have to wade through sirens and, people stalking them, and there's mention of Cyclops. We don't see them. It's very Odyssey, but in a mini way. We don't fully commit to being there for the whole book, which is good because I didn't want that, and we get talk of the Mediterranean right from the beginning, so I was scared that the whole book was going to be over there. And I didn't care about that because I really liked this house, and I liked the charm, and I liked the local vibe, and like the community they were building here. But the second book is more interested in their ancestry. They're descended from Greek gods. Who could have known? So they have to go track down Medea, who is the origin of their family. And they meet some other gods along the way, because of course they do. But they don't go there immediately. They spend maybe most of the book, 60 to 70% of the book, maybe more than that, I don't remember, in the town, in the house, but like planning to go abroad and like trying to figure out where to go, because this is some mythical thing that no one's ever found and people have been looking for millennia, but has never been found. And so it tries to be both a small town setting and literally the Odyssey, but it doesn't do either of them well, because while they're in the town, there's no like town-centric mystery, and while they're in the Odyssey, while they're on their Odyssey, they don't go through the whole Odyssey like Odysseus does. They just hit a couple of beats, and so it doesn't hit as hard either way. It waffles on what it wants to be, and therefore it doesn't do either of those things fantastically. But I suppose you're playing a middle ground there, where someone like me who wanted the small town vibes got some of that, but if you're someone who likes Kalynn Bayron books because she has these big powerful characters who do grand things, I guess you also get a mystery and a quest in the Mediterranean. So I guess there's something for everyone, but I don't think either of those things is done well. I think she should have committed to one or the other. Maybe. Again, I don't know. I feel like you'd have to commit to the small town vibes, because if you read the first book in the series and liked it enough to want to read the next, like you want more of this. You don't want a grand journey into the Aegean. Unless you do, because this is mythology inspired. Someone is reading this for the mythology aspects, and they're decent, they're fun, but I just liked how toned down they were in this first book. They're played down. That's not the whole plot. It's not just following Greek myth. It's not trying to be a Greek myth retelling. I prefer when Kalynn Bayron does her own thing, but I don't think she likes doing her own thing. I think she likes taking other stories and then spinning them and making them different and incorporating them into her own worlds. Which, fair enough. She can do whatever she wants, and she's a successful author who's written many books and is pretty popular, so good on her. Someone likes this. I prefer this. I want this book. I want Kalynn Bayron to write more like this. I'm glad I saved this series for last, because if I had read this first, and I was like, wow, this is a 5-star giga banger, and then I read everything else, I'd be like, wow, that was really disappointing. But instead it was the other way around, where I started with Cinderella is dead, and, was not that impressed, but I worked my way up, and so I'm ending on a good note. I do think Kalynn Bayron is a good author. I just prefer when she plays to what I think are her strengths. So not all of her books are fantastic, but this one is fantastic. I wish the sequel had been as good. I still recommend it, and I still recommend reading both. Especially, this one ends on a really big, dramatic cliffhanger, and so you kind of have to read the next one to know what happens. You can kind of guess what happens. Not exactly. What else did I want to comment on? I guess I'll talk about the gay shit, because that's why we're here, right? She starts out making a new friend in town who's a boy, And at first it seems like they're gonna have a thing and it seems like he likes her. It never goes there, which I liked, but also did not expect. And like from the writing, I really expected him to come out and admit feelings and her have to reject him or think about him in that way and like decide if she wanted to and maybe go on a date with him and see if she liked it. But no, her love interest is another girl in town who's 17, but not really because, spoiler alert, she's immortal and has been alive for a couple hundred years. I did really like them. There's like good chemistry there, although if you think about it, it kind of breaks down because it is one of those books where someone who's a couple hundred years old and super strong and immortal is dating a teenage girl, which is weird. It's just weird. Even though she's also a teenage girl and she does talk about, you know, biologically being a teenage girl and she's sort of emotional. She's very rash and angry and, you know, has sort of anger issues actually and will like threaten someone at the drop of a hat, which is kind of a red flag. And also the fact that she's like 400 or something, I forget, and dating a teenage girl, kind of a red flag if you think about it. But they're kind of cute together, so you're meant to just ignore those red flags. It's not that serious. And she's a much more interesting character than the boy, who is interesting actually. He gets an arc of his own, but he's kind of a teenage boy, and I don't care about that. You probably don't care about that if you're watching a YouTube channel called Mostly Sapphic Books. I'm here for the lesbians. I'll overlook some red flags for some good, cute teenage lesbians. And the book did intentionally try to stress that Marie, her love interest, is like a 17-year-old girl and she sees herself as a 17-year-old girl, but like she has been alive for hundreds of years. And I just feel like realistically, the experience that you would have over that many years, you would look at a 17-year-old and see a baby. Like, I look at teenagers and I'm like, that is an infant. That is a small child. And I'm only 30. So, like, if I was 430, I can't imagine looking at a 17-year-old and being like, I'm gonna date that woman. I really want to hold her hand. I want to hold her hand while she's crossing the street because she's a baby who shouldn't be out in traffic alone. So, like, realistic, but cute, yeah, I liked it. But again, the moms were really cute. And there's more of them in the first book than in the second book for plot reasons. But I loved her family, her adopted family, which is her real family, because she lives with her two moms, and they're really cute, and they have a really cute relationship, and they're really funny, and they're just like real parents. I think there's a real element of realism to this. Even though it's fantasy, the characters feel real. They feel like real people in our world right now, and that's the strength. Again, Kalynn Bayron is a very good contemporary writer. I think she shines in a contemporary setting. Her next book is a Frankenstein retelling, which I might personally find more interesting than the fairy tale retellings. I don't know. We'll have to see. I don't know how gay that one is. It said, I don't know, she had a boyfriend, but it was also tagged queer, so maybe it's another bisexual character or something. Or someone's gay. Maybe she's got two moms. I don't know. But I'll probably read that when it comes out. I mean, I hope it's good. I go into every book hoping it's good, but I don't think it'll be as good as this. But I hope to be wrong. So, I don't know. Looking forward to it. This is a good book. Read this one. I've seen this recommended everywhere. If you're at all on the internet looking for Sapphic books, which I have to assume that you are because you're here right now, you have seen this recommended, and I saw it recommended forever before I finally got around to getting a copy and reading it, and I'm glad I did. There's a reason this gets recommended in Sapphic circles so much. There's a reason I've heard about this book more than I have Cinderella is Dead, or Sleep Like Death, or You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight. This is her best book, especially for what we're here for, or at least what I'm here for. But I do look forward to more of her books, even though if I might keep my expectations a bit lower than this. But she can reach great heights. This is a 5-star read. Good book. Pick this one up.